The life of a Chargers fan, you can never get too high or too low because reality will set in on either case and bring you back down to earth. So we got some potential good news and some potential bad news coming out of the coaching ranks for the Chargers going into 2026. Let's get into it.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Well, the good news is potentially, hopefully, likely, and Mike McDaniel has agreed to become the Chargers' new offensive coordinator for 2026. So that's some great news. That's definitely some great news. And I would say that was my top choice. If you watched my video last week in regards to who my top candidates were, he was tops on the list. Obviously, he's been highly touted as being, just a flat out genius when it comes to football, not just play calling, but football. He loves it. He's a highly intelligent guy that just thinks outside of the box. He's highly innovative. You see it in flashes when he was in Miami. He had a lot going on there. There was nuance and different, and gave defensive coordinators fits when they were healthy and whole and they were right and Tua was upright. So, yeah, man, he's here. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And I say that because it's not official yet. But he has agreed in principle to become an offensive coordinator if any head coaching jobs do not come about. Now, at this point in this juncture, at the recording of this video, there's only 5 openings left. The Raiders, the Bills, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Cardinals. Now, I can probably X out most of those. I would say that maybe the Bills or the Steelers may be the only jobs that I would consider if they were considering me. But I would argue that the Bills are probably looking at either Joe Brady or Brian Daboll, and the Steelers are looking at Mike McDaniel. Ironically, Mike McDaniel's the old Packers and Cowboys coach, Mike McCarthy. Excuse me, Mike McCarthy. I've got so much McDaniel in my brain is just running in. But yeah, I would say that Brian Flores and Mike McCarthy are the head of the class in that particular aspect of getting that job. And I would not take the Raiders, Browns, or Cardinals job based on how much of a heavy lift it is. And in retrospect as well, with I guess you can say his struggles as being a head coach. I think he want to come back down to being an offense coordinator, to call plays, and get back into, his, specific role and get things, flowing better from a reputation perspective. You jump right back into a head coaching position after being let go out of Dolphins. Some people are kind of skittish because of how things went and they don't necessarily view you as a culture guy, more of an offensive savant, but you don't really, galvanize the room. You don't really, motivate the guys to play hard. They labeled that particular Dolphins group as being soft, can't play in cold weather, things of that nature. So it's one of those things where you might want to just come back down to the offensive coordinator ranks and, hell, I mean, let's just be honest with you. Chargers fan or not, coaching Justin Herbert is not, chopped liver. It's not at all. Definitely an upgrade from what you had in Miami for sure. So, coaching Justin Herbert in this offense with the weapons they got and being under Jim Harbaugh in this aspect and this facet of what the Chargers are and going into 2026 with 2 booking tackles, hopefully they'll fix the interior line going into the off season. So yeah, the sky's looking up. I mean, there's a lot, worse opportunities you could take than being OC for the Chargers. So I definitely think he's, leading heavy towards it. Meeting with Harbaugh, the other day, and they sit down and they literally came into an agreement, quite quickly. I think that it was something that he wanted to do. He wanted to change coast, obviously going from Miami to California, and he wanted to come in and coach his team and get this offense back on track because again, we've argued, fussed, and fought over how putrid this offense was in the past 2 years. So him coming in to be the offensive coordinator should be and will be, in my opinion, an upgrade for sure. But yeah, so we'll dissect what's going on here and what potentially he will bring to the team, what my concerns are, and then we'll get into some bad news about coaching we might be losing. So I'm just going to be honest with you, we're likely losing another coach, so we'll get into it. But yeah, so Starting off with Mike McDaniel, he is, hired tentatively as the offensive coordinator for the 2026 season. And I know some people have some concerns that, if he does well, and it probably will do well, most likely will do well for the Chargers, he might not be here long. But that goes back to my original point about his head coaching misgivings. Teams aren't going to be quote unquote, rushing to get him back into the fold in a sense, because of his, I guess you can say, quirky attitude. I mean, it's not a knock. I mean, he's a quirky guy. It is, it's certain guys that you come in the room like Mike Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. They just have a presence about them and a leadership quality. And Mike McDaniel just might be more of a sort of a coordinator type of guy. That might be his role. That might be his thing. Cliff Kingsbury as well. They might be geniuses when it comes to play calling, but the idea of running and managing a whole team might be a little bit too much for him. In all honesty. So I would argue that he might find his niche, and coaching Justin Herbert again is definitely something that you don't get to see every day or get to have an opportunity to do every day. So why not? So I think that him coming into this role, he could be here for a while, guys. I mean, I'm being honest with you, guys and girls. I'm thinking he could be here for a while. He comes in, if it becomes official, hopefully the next few days or whatever the case may be. I would argue that he might be here for a while. He just might, settle in. We're going to win games, obviously. Under Harbaugh, and the offense getting back on track will definitely help the defense in every facet of the game. So yes, I think he'll be here, be comfortably happy, and just settle into winning. You know, not jumping back out there to be a head coach once he's done it already. He's seeing how stressful it is. He might not want to do it anymore. That's just my guess. That's my guess. When people have that struggle at the high end, they come back down to the coordinator role and has success, and you get comfortable, and it's nothing like winning. That's to say the least. You had the struggles in Miami, so there's nothing like winning and getting to the playoffs every year and having a chance at the Super Bowl. So I think he definitely gives the Chargers the opportunity to be that type of team going forward. So yeah, I'm all here for it, man. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets finalized in the next few days. But I pulled a poll up on the YouTube space about who they really wanted to be the offensive coordinator going forward, and this is before the news got lifted. And by 70% landslide victory, Mike McDaniel was the obvious case. 70% to Brian Daboll's 18%, 6 for Stefanski, and 6 for Cliff Kingsbury. So yeah, the fan base definitely wanted McDaniel just like I did. So yeah, we're all on the train, all on the idea that Mike McDaniel would be the best candidate for this job. So yes, and in principle, he's agreed to it. So we'll see how it happens. But yeah, I can't wait till it becomes official so we can start planning for the future, in a sense, for the offense. But yeah, but here's the tweet. Like I said, Tom Pelissero and other people said that, no deal is signed yet. A head coach spot could materialize, but OC job is his if he wants it, and it would be him and Justin Herbert in LA. So I'm here for it all. So yeah, we'll see how things roll. But again, outside of the Bills and the Steelers job, I'm not looking to. If I had to choose between being the OC of the Chargers and coaching this team in its stability with Harbaugh, or coaching the Raiders with their quirkiness, coaching the Cardinals with their quirkiness, and coaching the godforsaken Browns, who seem like nobody wants to coach. Yeah, I'm not choosing none of those options, in my opinion. So again, I mean, unless the Bills come calling, which the Bills kind of know who Mike McDaniel is as a head coach. So are they even looking in his direction? And the Steelers, they have certain guys, I think, certain guys that have really stout personalities, and in every space, and that's not Mike. I mean, honestly, like I said, he's more a modern, quirky guy. Um, not necessarily a culture guy, not a culture builder. So if you want a culture builder in Pittsburgh, he's not your man. I'm not just saying that from a fact that I want him to be the OC of the charge. I'm just saying that if you're looking for a guy that's going to embody what the Steelers way is, he's not that. He's not that. So this is something to keep in mind, but we'll see how things go. And in this next few slots get filled. But once the jobs go that he think he might, be considering, like coaching Josh Allen, for instance, um, I would argue that once that's gone, then he will probably likely, because we don't know what the Steelers quarterback situation is. I would like to argue that he's going to just, close ranks and say, I'm going to be the OC for the Chargers, and then we'll have it finalized and be ready to roll. So, getting into, what he will bring to the team once it's all said and done. Obviously, a more modern day innovative offense. He has, abilities to manipulate defenses that have been unseen by many. And this goes way back to his early coaching days with the Browns and the Niners and other teams he's been on. Everybody speaks, as a position coach or as a coordinator, everybody speaks highly of Mike McDaniel's play calling ability, and it's just his genius. This is genius. Listen to Andrew Hawkins, Darren Waller, and a few other people say that he's an absolute savant and just an overall genius, and he's taught them way more by him, being under his tutelage than they had learned in their entire career. So that's definitely a high mark for him, and him bringing this to this team will be excellent in this environment. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. More nuanced running pass games, something we haven't seen outside of the time we had with Shane Steichen, a little bit with Kellen Moore. It's been a rough go, especially with dealing with Greg Roman for the last 2 years and his dinosaur like offense. So yeah, bringing in a new modern in innovative coach is definitely something I'm looking forward to seeing. Again, highly intelligent, very inventive play calling. He's going to get Justin Herbert, back on track and getting him to a all Pro Bowl level, like quarterback, quarterbacking level, to once he gets in the house. So I'm looking forward to that happening. And I have my concerns. I'm going to broach those in a minute, but just his overall intelligence level and how do people speak highly of him and how he looks at things outside of the box. He's an independent thinker. He's not a guy that's just going to keep doing the things the same way everybody else has been doing them just because they worked in the past. He challenges the norms and he gets things done. He gets results, man. You can't say he doesn't. Look what Devon A. Chan has done in the past 2 seasons. Look what Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have done. I mean, hell, again, Tua being a very limited quarterback, he's had him throw for 5,000 yards. So, I mean, if nothing else, if he can make Tua into a Pro Bowler, or looking like a Pro Bowler, I'm sure he can make Justin Herbert look like an All-Pro, maybe an MVP. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this can do. Now, getting into my concerns real quick, we have seen what his offense looks like as a full-on play caller, and it was very rhythm and timing based. Will he come in and bring that same style? Will that rhythm and timing based offense, or will he adapt to Herbert's play style? And I tend to think, after listening to Andrew Hawkins, especially on his Rich Eisen interview a few years ago, I would tend to think that based upon his intelligence level, he's going to cater, and he's probably already studying Justin Herbert at this very moment. He's that much of a football nerd, and I love that part of it. I think he's already studying Justin Herbert's tendencies, his nuances, his strengths, his weaknesses, all that good jazz. I think he's going to really cater his offense and cater his play style and his running game towards Justin Herbert's strength, and he's going to have him back on track. I'm fully invested in that. But what we've seen on paper and what we've seen on film has been a highly rhythm-based and timing offense. And you still have a little bit of that, but just playing to Justin Herbert's strength will be the winning formula in this aspect of it. And I think he needs to adjust to that, and I think he will. But again, based on what we've seen, if he came right in and said, I'm running the same offense I'm running in Miami, I'm not sure it's going to work for Justin Herbert. He's not a rhythm and based, timing based guy every single play. He can get certain things done, on schedule, but he has to see it, in order to do it. He's one of those guys. So I think he will adapt. I'm not knocking it at all. But again, you got to voice the concern because it is one, because what you've seen, but I think he won't be stubborn in the fact that he's going to say, I'm just going to run the same stuff over and over again. I think he's going to run something different, and it's going to look good. It's just like he did in Miami, just in a different facet. But we'll see. We will see. But getting into a quick stat thing, I statistician look here, looking at the Dolphins and Chargers offense in the past 4 years that he's been the OC and the head coach of the organization versus what the Chargers have done. It's actually not that far off. I mean, they really only smoked the team. The Dolphins only really smoked the Chargers in 1 year. Outside of that, it's been very close. In 2022, they scored 397 points. We scored 391. They had 6197 in total yards. We had 6108, so very close there. 2023, they had a stellar season, obviously. 496 in points to our 346. 6,822 to our 5599 in total yards. So, I mean, again, they smoked us in 2023. So we hope to get that type of performance going forward, right? 2024 was pretty close. They had 345 to our 402. We outscored them. They only I had a yards by like 19 yards, 55-32 to 55-13, very close. And this past year, 347 points to our 368. We outscored them. We out yarded them 56-75 to 5112 for the Miami Dolphins. But again, that last year was very strange. No Tyreek for most of it. Tua and their running game and the O-line was different. So again, it was going to be different, but on paper, people looked at these numbers, they said, well, the Chargers offense wasn't that bad in comparison to what Miami's was. But again, when they're healthy and whole and everything was right and working, in 2023, they were miles different. And we didn't even have Greg Roman in that 2023 season. I believe we had Kellen Moore. That was Kellen Moore's year. So yeah, I would argue that Kellen Moore versus Mike McDaniel, he smoked him in that 2023 year. So yeah, I definitely think that this offense is going to look better in 2026, assuming he comes in. Still waiting on it. Still waiting on it. But yeah, I mean, I want to give Harbaugh kudos for stepping into the future. He hasn't. He tried it with the old dog and it didn't work. And he, after 2 years, he quickly pivoted off of it. And I give him credit for that. We couldn't run this back with Greg Roman another year. Just couldn't. Again, if your goal and your mantra is to get Justin Herbert to a Super Bowl and get this team this first Super Bowl, you cannot keep running back with Greg Roman. He is completely and utterly aged out of the NFL. Yes, and it's been a long time coming. When he was in Baltimore, we could see it. So the idea that you wanted to run it back with him, or you just didn't have any better options that you thought they would work, right away. The fact that you brought him back in because he's a family friend was a mistake. It was a mistake. And I feel like you wasted Justin Herbert's, two of his good years on Greg Roman. I really think you did. But yet again, you learn from your mistakes and you quickly pivot off of them and you make a big splash. You go out and talk to Mike McDaniel, and that's the guy you want to bring in. That's great for the organization. Absolutely positively. Can't wait to see what this relationship can be about. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to what's next. We got to finalize the contract with him, get that ink signed, get that paper done, get the contract over and done with. Then we got to address the O line, fix the interior line and find a good offensive line coach to go along with that. And then we'll be rocking and rolling from an offensive perspective. So that's the next thing that's going to be on the docket to get done. But yeah, I mean, I think it's positive vibes from an offensive perspective. I think it's looking up as long as everything falls in place. So getting into the bad news, however, I'm going to break it now. I tried to not to tease it too much, but it was weighing heavy on my heart. Jesse Minter is now slated to be the Ravens' new head coach. It's done. He's over. We most likely thought we was going to lose him. I mean, it was a slight chance that they weren't going to, he was going to come back. Like I was arguing that if he didn't get the Steelers or the Ravens job, and the Bills job wasn't available at this time when I was talking about it, because the Bills job came open late when they lost their playoff game. But if those 2 to 3 jobs didn't come available to Jesse, he probably would have came back because he didn't want to deal with. First of all, you don't want to go to the ops to the Raiders. That's number one. Although they were heavily courting him, you didn't want to go to the ops to the Raiders that face your mentor and Harbaugh 2 times a year. I don't think he wanted to do that personally. That's just me. The Steelers showed a little bit of interest, but not much. But again, it would have been a great job because the Ravens and Steelers, to me, are a pillar of stability. They're very, I guess you can say, loyal organization, and they aren't going to get rid of you, if things get turbulent, right away. They stick with their coaches. I mean, hell, they gave Tomlin and Harbaugh 18, 19 years respectively. So, yeah, I mean, I think that he's going to be a very good coach for them and get that defense back on track, and he's going to have a good runway to be successful. It's ironic too that he's replacing Harbaugh's brother John and as being being a successor there. But hell, you get to coach Lamar Jackson, all those weapons on defense, Kyle Hamilton, to name a few. He's going to do well there. I have no doubt about that. Only thing that's sad and the only thing that's somber that we're losing him as our defensive coordinator, because I was looking at the dream team of Harbaugh, Minter, and McDaniel as being the top 3 guys in our coaching staff. That was going to be a match made in heaven. I was looking forward to it. So got to look towards the future. Got to find a new guy as our defensive coordinator and run this defense. They're talking about maybe promoting within, a couple of positional coaches, pass or running game coordinators or D-line coaches could be in the running. Looking outside, I'm thinking, not many people are talking about this name right now. But I'm going to say, let's make a big splash just like we did with McDaniel. I'm going to call him Jonathan Gannon, the old coach from Arizona. I am. Now, I will say this, that he was excellent with Philly. They went to the Super Bowl with him. Is the reason why he got the job in Arizona. He was excellent in Philly. Now, he was a little bit turbulent in Arizona now, but there's a lot going on there. And I think this is going back to my point about McDaniel. I think that Jonathan Gannon is really good as defensive coordinator. If he could just focus on that, I think being a head coach might have been too much for him. It might have just been too much for his processing ability. Doing all the management as well as calling the defense, trying to get the offense straight, keep the players in line, it might have been too much for him. So I think if he can come back to just being a defense coordinator for a year or two and figuring it out if he wants to go back into the head coaching ranks, I think that's a good hire. I really do. I think he's really good at just being a defensive coordinator. If he can come in and do, like I think he can do what McDaniels can do and just be a innovative voice, and keeping the defense up to snuff like Mitzer had him when he was here. I think that's a good hire, man. I don't see nothing wrong with that hire at all. And I know people look at this recent, woes or problems in Arizona with that defense, but because they couldn't stop a cold there in Arizona, and it's hot there. But I would say that I think he just needs to come back down and just be a coordinator for a year or two and figure out that aspect of the ball, get that straight, and the players he has will be an upgrade. I mean, just the personnel he has in LA, it was going to be way different than he did in Arizona. So I think that that's a great hire. Outside of that, there's a few other names bubbling. Wake Martindale, a few other guys. Not really overly, I guess you can say, excited about. It's a wait and see thing. They where they've been and what they've done doesn't make me shout and scream that we got to get them. But Jonathan Gannon screams to me that it will be a success. It'll be a slam dunk, and I think that him replacing Minster will be a great lateral. I think he'll come in and it won't be a whole lot of drop off, because what we don't want to happen is offense gets straight with McDaniels, but the defense struggles. We don't want to have somebody come in and we can't stop a cold either. That's the problem. Because the defense giving a bunch of points and McDaniel's scoring a lot of points, it's just going to be shootouts every week, and we don't want to deal with that. You want to have a stout, and consistent defense along with a stout, already successful and productive offense. If you have that, that wins Super Bowls. If you don't have that, guess what? And if you look at who's left in the playoffs, you see that practically all those teams have stout defenses. Broncos, Patriots, Seahawks definitely. Rams have a pretty good defense. They all got great defenses. So you got to have that on top of having a really good offense in order to win ball games. So we got to have that and can't have the drop off there. So hiring a good candidate, somebody's going to come in and really either take over what Minter is doing or elevate it, or just do what he did and be successful in that space. I think that's what they need to do. And that's what the move they need to make. But we'll see. But I'm looking for, them to make a call to Jonathan Gannon, because he hadn't been hired yet. I mean, they talked about him going to an NFC East team I think he had interviewed with the Cowboys, but I think they're going in a different direction. So he hadn't really got a whole lot of buzz, a lot of talk, which is puzzling to me, because I think he's really good on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see. But I'm calling Jonathan Gannon if I'm Harbaugh. That's just me. But we'll see. But ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Minter's gone, man. Pour out a little bit of liquor for it. We'll miss him. 2 good year run, but it's funny that we had him, really doing well on the defensive side of the ball, but offense couldn't move the ball and support him properly. So that was the problem, and why we couldn't get past the wild card round in the playoffs. So we'll see. We will see what the future holds. So talk about what's to come on the channel. We got a few things lined up here for you. We're not taking breaks. We're going to keep covering things. We're going to keep breaking things down and keep you invested and keep you up to date on what Chargers are doing. We're going to talk about some season and review. We're going to do a season review, player review. We'll talk about who did good things, who struggled, especially the interior line. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about team needs, what they need to address in the offseason and free agency in the draft. And we'll do a keep or cut. We'll talk about people that you should definitely keep that are free agents, pending free agents, and people you need to cut. We'll get into all of that, man. And then when free agency gets buzzing in towards the end of February, early March, we'll get into that as well. So it'll be content, man. So stay tuned. Keep invested. Keep rocking with the channel, man, and we'll keep doing things big for you, man. So as always, we appreciate y'all, for holding us down throughout the season, and the offseason will be even better. So we'll love to cover that. We'll get things rolling in the right way, man. But as always, man, if you're looking for the Electric Shock podcast on any space, we're on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button to support our podcast movement. Hit us up on social media if you have any questions about Chargers news. We can be found on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Gmail. The handle is Electric Shock Pod, no K in shock. Electric Shock Pod on all platforms. Please get at us on all things Chargers. But in the meantime, you got to do one thing and one thing well. You always got to remember to